Okay, this might be a little awkward at first. So we're starting with a pretty loose chain right now. I only have like 20 on there. What I did for the blanket that I'm working on is did about 150. It makes it about 36 wide. Might be a little too wide, but it ended up even. I can't tell you what the count is as far as Grandma didn't know what it was, and I can't tell you what the, like, what's a good number to chain. So instead of going to the next one from the hook, you want to pull up a loop through the second chain. So like that. This is going to be really loose, and that's the way you need it to be. So the next thing you want to do is yarn over one and then skip the next chain and then pull up a loop through that chain. So then there's 4 on the hook. And then without yarning over, skip the next chain and then pull up another loop after that so that there's 5 on the hook. And then you pull them all the way through and then basically chain to finish the stitch. Is how Grandma described it to me. So then on the next one, it makes a loop and you pull it into the back loop of there. So kind of see how that is. It's that back loop on that stitch that you just finished. So you pull up a loop through there and there's this hole here. So when you yarn over, instead of skipping, you put it through that loop or that hole that was created and then skip the next chain and pull up a loop through there. So the only time you yarn over is on that second part of the stitch. And then you make sure it's pretty loose. You pull it through and then chain. So on this again, there's that back loop. So what it is that last loop, it's the back side of that stitch. And you pull it up. Then you yarn over and go through that bigger hole. Grandma calls it the eye. I'll pull out the one that I'm working on to show you once it's in a different row. So then after that, again, you skip so you skip the next chain. And Grandma says it's supposed to be ruffly, so don't worry that it ruffles kind of on the end. So you pull that through and then do your chain to finish it. Then again, back of the loop, pull it up, yarn over, pull it through the eye, as Grandma was calling it. Then you skip and you keep them loose because this is supposed to be a pretty loop stitch. It's not going to star until you get the next row on there. Try to keep your chain flat just so that you're not twisting the work. Pull up a loop through the back, then yarn over through the loop, skip the next one, and then you kind of, to keep it the tension or the loose that you need, if you make them parallel, you like pull them up. So this one's the longest and you just pull them up so that there. When you pull them through, it does get smaller a little bit, but it keeps it loose enough that you can find that back loop that you need because it's the front one. So pull up through that back loop, yarn over, go through the eye there, keep them pulled up, skip the next chain, so every time you pull through there needs to be 5 on there, and always remember to finish your stitch, as Grandma says, when she was showing me, because apparently I was doing it wrong. Anyway, so the next, again, I have a tendency to go really tight, and this, working off the chain's a little flimsy. Anyway, so pull it up through that back loop, yarn over, and then pull up a loop, skip the next chain, and I'll show you how to turn because there's a way to turn. Okay, so there we go, and finish that stitch. So you can see kind of how that's laying out. Sorry, I'm attempting to do this with a stand, so I'm trying to keep myself under the camera. So pull up that loop, pull up through that back loop, yarn over into that big hole, and then skip it and pull up a loop. Oops, I got that one a little tight on the end. I'm not going to be able to get through, so I'm going to pull that out and try that one again. The back loop, yarn over through the eye, trying to keep that loose, skip the chain and pull up a loop and finish the stitch. So again, Grandma says don't twist, just go find it, but I like to twist to see where my my back loop is. So goes there. Okay, pulling it up, and then we're skipping the next one. We're almost end of my really short row here. And then pull it through. It's kind of how it looks on the top, looks on the side. Let's see if I have enough. I should have enough to do the next one. So we're going through the back. Make sure we're only catching one loop, or one part of that stitch as we pull up our loop. Yarn over into the eye, and then we're gonna skip the stitch. Okay, so there's that. Pull it through, up, and so then we're at the end of the row. So then you finish the stitch and then you chain 3. So on that turn, you go into the second one from the chain. So you've got the first stitch closest to where you're at, and then the second one. So you put into the second one and pull up the loop. Then down here where you finished, you yarn over. Down here where you finished that stitch, go in there and pull up a loop, and then you go into the next eye. So you have a loose stitch, and then you have this eye where everything's bunched together. That's where you're going to work from here on out. So you get the 5 on there again and pull through and finish the stitch. So this gets easier after the turn. So you go into the back loop, yarn over, go into the eye, which is the last one that is where you put your last stitch on the previous stitch. So you pull that one up, and then you go skip the stitch and go into the next one. And you know you're in the right stitch because that's where all of them are kind of bunched together. So you pull through and you finish your stitch, and then you go into the back again, and then yarn over, go into the eye and pull it up, and then go into the next eye and pull it up. So what that starts to do is kind of star them in the different areas. Let me know if you have any questions or if I need to give you a little bit more example or if this video works.